Alex Reynolds had always thought he had seen the full range of human curiosity, but nothing in his career as a space envoy could have prepared him for the encounter he was about to have on the distant planet of Thalira. The planet itself was breathtaking. Its skies shimmered with a strange violet hue, and the ground beneath his boots seemed almost alive, with soft, luminescent plants that swayed as if they had a rhythm of their own. The Lyra cities were not built like human cities. They spiraled organically from the ground, twisting towers that resembled the shells of massive, iridescent creatures. It was beautiful, yes, but it was also intimidating. Every structure seemed alive, as if the world itself was observing him. Alex adjusted the strap of his compact and walked carefully across a bridge made of transparent material. He could see the streams of glowing water beneath him, and occasionally, creatures darted past, shimmering like moving lights. He had been briefed about the Thalrans, the native species. They were intelligent, highly empathetic, and capable of reading emotions to a level humans found unsettling. But intelligence alone did not prepare him for Lyra. Lyra was waiting in a chamber that overlooked one of the planet's floating gardens. She was taller than an average human, with a lithe frame, and her skin shimmered faintly with a pearlescent glow. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, their color shifting subtly with her mood. Alex felt an odd mix of nervousness and curiosity. He had interacted with many alien species, but Lyra's gaze seemed to see past the surface, straight into the core of human intent. "Captain Reynolds," she said, her voice soft but precise. "Welcome to Thalira. I hope your journey was comfortable." Her words were polite, but there was a subtle lilt, a teasing note that Alex could not quite place. He bowed slightly, following the diplomatic protocol. "Thank you, Lyra. The journey was smooth. Your planet is remarkable," he said honestly. He took in the floating gardens, the soft hum of energy flowing through the air, and the way light bent unusually around the structures. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Lyra tilted her head slightly. "I have observed humans closely," she said. "You are curious creatures. Your attire, your gestures, your subtle choices of presentation are fascinating." Her tone carried a note of genuine scientific interest. But there was also a playful edge that made Alex shift uncomfortably. He had expected curiosity about human culture, food, or technology. But this, her focus on personal presentation, felt unusually intimate. He reminded himself to remain calm, to approach this with diplomacy. Lyra continued, "In my species, we do not conceal the body in the same way humans do. We are transparent, in a sense, with our presentation. But you humans? You create layers, coverings. What is the purpose?" Alex smiled slightly, recognizing the teachable moment. "Modesty, social norms, personal comfort. It's a way to express respect, sometimes, or to protect oneself. It's cultural." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "Interesting. And yet, you are not hiding everything from me, Captain Reynolds. There is more nuance. A human would not reveal all details, even in conversation." "Why?" Alex chuckled softly. "Because some things are private, personal. Even if I trust someone, I choose how much to share." There was a long pause. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes fixed on his face. "You want to know if I'm not wearing anything underneath?" she whispered. Alex froze. His mind raced. She had spoken softly, almost in a scientific tone, but her question carried weight. He realized that she was not attempting flirtation in the human sense. It was curiosity, a probing of boundaries, a test of understanding. He kept his voice steady. I understand that your species has different customs. Yes, I am curious. But I also respect personal boundaries." Lyra's expression softened, a faint smile forming. "Ah, then you are considerate. Most humans would react differently. Most would blush or attempt humor. You do neither. That is unusual." Alex realized that he had just passed an unspoken test. Lyra's species measured intent, emotional honesty, and logic intertwined with empathy. He had answered truthfully, without deception, without unnecessary reaction. Your species values honesty, he said, but also respect for the individual. I suppose that is why we have rules about modesty and personal space. It is a way of navigating social interaction. Lyra studied him for a long moment, then nodded. I see. Very well, then let us proceed with the experiment. She gestured to a series of holographic displays that appeared around the room. They showed human body language, movement, and cultural interactions. Alex realized that she wanted him to guide her understanding of humans, not merely through words, but through demonstration, explanation, and example. For hours, they worked together. Alex demonstrated simple gestures, a handshake, a bow, a casual smile. Lyra observed, tilted her head, and asked questions. Why do humans raise eyebrows? Why do we cross our arms? Why do we choose one color over another? Each question, though seemingly trivial, was loaded with depth. Alex answered with care, explaining human psychology and social cues in the simplest terms. By midday, Alex had begun to notice a subtle shift in Lyra's approach. Her questions became less about observation and more about application. If a human wants to show respect, but also retain privacy, she asked, what is the ideal approach? Alex paused. It depends on the culture, the situation, the relationship. But generally, clarity and honesty, combined with a small measure of restraint, works well. Lyra's eyes glimmered with comprehension. I see restraint. An interesting concept. We have little of that in our society. We are direct, always. Perhaps humans have a protective elegance. Alex smiled, impressed by her choice of words. Yes, that's a good way to put it. Protective elegance. We reveal carefully, not because we are afraid, but because we value control over our interactions. The afternoon passed in a blur of demonstration, discussion, and subtle humor. Alex found himself laughing quietly at Lyra's attempts to mimic human gestures. Her long fingers bending awkwardly in imitation of a human wave, her voice shifting in tones to match a human laugh. She was brilliant, curious, and entirely unassuming. Yet there was an intensity to her intellect that demanded respect. As the sun or what humans perceived as the sun began to set over Thalira's horizon, the chamber filled with the soft violet glow of the alien world, Alex realized that the day had been far more than a diplomatic exercise. It had been a lesson in understanding trust, the power of human ingenuity to navigate unfamiliar situations. Lyra turned to him, her gaze curious once more. Captain Reynolds, you have taught me much today. But tell me, why do humans find curiosity in others so compelling? Why do you engage with a species so different from your own? Alex took a deep breath. Because curiosity is a bridge. It allows us to connect, to learn, to grow. And because sometimes, when you encounter a mind as unique as yours, you cannot help but be intrigued. Lyra considered his words silently. Then she nodded slowly. I understand. Curiosity, yes. That is why I asked my question earlier. Not to provoke, but to learn. And you answered well. I suppose that is what humans do. We answer honestly when it matters. The chamber fell silent for a moment. The only sounds the soft hum of energy around them and the distant movements of Thalira's bioluminescent wildlife. Alex knew that this was only the beginning. He and Lyra had formed a bond, not of romance, but of mutual respect and curiosity. A bridge had been built, one that could span species, cultures, and worlds. And as he left the chamber, he realized that he was not just a human envoy anymore. He was a pioneer, an ambassador of understanding, and perhaps one of the few humans capable of navigating the intricate dance of intellect and empathy that defined Lyra's people. The violet sky darkened further, stars emerging in patterns unfamiliar to human eyes. Alex looked at them and wondered what other lessons awaited him on Thalira. One thing was certain, the day's events would shape not just his understanding of alien cultures, but his belief in humanity's ability to adapt, connect, and in Spirevin across the stars, he took a deep breath, feeling the cool alien air fill his lungs, and whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning." The ship drifted silently through the darkness of space. Stars flickered past like distant lanterns, and the hum of the engines was the only sound inside the cabin. The human, tall and sturdy, stood at the viewport, staring at the endless void. He had been sent on a mission far from Earth, to a sector of space known for alien colonies that humanity had rarely contacted. His orders were clear: observe, protect, and if necessary, negotiate. But nothing in the briefing had prepared him for her. The alien woman was unlike any species he had encountered. She was tall, with a graceful form that moved almost like liquid, her skin shimmering faintly under the dim lights, reflecting colors that the human didn't have names for. Her eyes were wide and intelligent, glowing with a soft inner light that made him feel both nervous and curious. She had been found aboard a derelict ship, drifting alone for what appeared to be weeks. When he first approached her, she didn't speak immediately. She simply observed him, tilting her head in a way that suggested both caution and intrigue. The human, trained for diplomacy, tried to communicate using universal signals, small gestures, and calm body language. Slowly, she responded, mimicking his movements and eventually forming simple words that he could understand. Over the hours, he realized that she was not just intelligent, but extraordinarily curious about humans. She asked questions about how he survived in dangerous situations, how humans managed conflict, and why humans often risked their lives to protect strangers. Her questions were not idle. They were precise, probing, and insightful, revealing a mind that was both analytical and sensitive. As night fell aboard the ship, the humans set up the cabin for their rest. It was a small space, only one bed large enough for a single occupant, but it had warmth and comfort. The alien observed quietly, her gaze following every movement, as if assessing not only his actions, but his intentions. When he stepped back, she approached the bed without hesitation. She slid under the sheets and whispered, "One bed, no rules." Her voice was soft but firm, carrying a weight that made him pause. There was something about her confidence that disarmed him. He expected hesitation, mistrust, or at least caution. Instead, she trusted him more. Perhaps she was testing him. Either way, he respected it. He joined her under the sheets, careful to maintain distance, but aware of the unspoken tension in the air. There were no rules, she had said, and yet there was an understanding that neither would break the trust that had formed in the short hours. They had shared, time seemed to slow. They lay side by side, observing each other in quiet curiosity. The human told her about Earth, about the vast oceans, the mountains, and the forests. He spoke of small joys, the sound of rain, the warmth of sunlight, and the laughter of friends. She listened intently, her eyes reflecting fascination and wonder. She asked questions, not about the weaknesses of humans, but about their resilience, their determination, and their ability to create beauty even in harsh conditions. Her curiosity extended beyond words. She demonstrated her technology, showing small devices that could manipulate light, communicate across vast distances, or analyze complex systems in moments. The human watched carefully, learning not only about her capabilities, but about her culture, her values, and the strength of her spirit. Every gesture, every explanation, revealed a creature both alien and profoundly intelligent. The night stretched on, and slowly, barriers began to dissolve. He noticed the subtle ways she mirrored his movements, the small shifts in posture that indicated trust, and the quiet attention she paid to his reactions. For her part, she seemed fascinated by human instincts, how he reacted to danger, how he approached problems, and how he chose empathy over aggression when faced with uncertainty. Their conversation was interrupted by a low alert from the ship's systems. Sensors indicated an unknown vessel approaching rapidly. The human immediately assessed the threat, analyzing trajectory, speed, and potential intent. The alien watched closely, then moved beside him without hesitation. Together, they monitored the approaching ship, their actions synchronized. A silent team formed by necessity and mutual respect. The vessel came into view, sleek, fast, and armed. Its presence was a clear threat, but the human remained calm. He directed the alien to assist in rerouting power to shields while he prepared defensive measures. She followed instructions precisely, her movements fluid and efficient, demonstrating strength and intelligence in equal measure. Together, they prepared for the encounter. Not as human and alien, but as partners facing an uncertain future. When the hostile ship fired, the human strategy and her agility allowed them to avoid damage while sending warning signals. The confrontation was brief, intense, and ultimately non-lethal. The intruder, recognizing the unexpected resistance, retreated. The human exhaled, tension leaving his body, and looked at the alien. She met his gaze, eyes wide but calm, and he saw something new: admiration. After the danger passed, they returned to the cabin. Silence filled the room, but it was different, now comfortable, safe, and intimate in a way that words could not capture. She spoke softly, asking about his experiences on Earth, about moments of courage and failure, about times he had made choices that changed lives. He answered honestly, sharing stories of bravery, mistakes, and the lessons he had learned. In turn, she revealed her own history, fragments of her life before isolation, the challenges of her people, the decisions that weighed heavily on leaders, and the moments of doubt that tested her resolve. He listened with growing respect, recognizing that while she was powerful, her strength came not only from her body or technology, but from her mind and heart. Hours passed. They shared meals, simple conversation, and quiet observation. The human began to notice the nuances of her personality, the humor that occasionally flickered in her expressions, the care she showed for small details, and the unspoken concern for the well-being of others. She, in turn, seemed fascinated by his resilience, his ability to think clearly under pressure, his unwavering sense of ethics. By the time dawn approached, the bond between them had deepened. Trust, curiosity, and mutual respect formed a foundation that transcended species, culture, and language. She whispered again, "You are different. I have never met a human like you." He smiled, realizing that the galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers, yet in that small cabin, two beings had found connection through understanding and shared experience. In that quiet moment, they understood each other not through rules or commands, but through observation, empathy, and action. Humanity had impressed her not through weapons or dominance, but through courage, compassion, and the willingness to protect and understand. And in return, she offered him her trust, curiosity, and presence, rare gift that few humans or aliens had ever received. The night ended without fanfare, but with promise. They lay together, side by side, no rules, no expectations, only a connection forged in the unlikeliest of circumstances. The human knew that their journey was only beginning, that countless challenges awaited in the galaxy. But he also knew that with her by his side, he was not alone. Together, they would face the unknown, relying on trust, courage, and the extraordinary qualities that made humans remarkable. And as the first light of the distant stars touched the cabin, Aether spoke. Words were unnecessary. In the silence, they had already discovered something far greater: understanding, respect, and the spark of friendship, or perhaps something deeper that would guide them through the adventures yet to come.